Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf. Chris Carter's all fired up this morning. That is Nick Wright. We've made it to Friday. What is it? What is it, Chris? What's happening?
Yelling at me, telling me to get on my mark. Dusty saying I ain't got my numbers together.
Right.
I have my pens organized.
This has been a wonderful week. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know it's going to be an interesting day when right before the show starts, your executive producer yells, TV show. Now, TV show, starting.
He only
TV
said that
show.
to your
Oh, he only said that to me?
That,
that you acknowledged what was happening? I never
Cece's
actually
got a long
know what's
day ahead of him.
happening.
Going to the Yankees, courtesy Cece Sabathia.
Absolutely. He's on the mound tonight, throwing heat for
Against
at least 5 innings. Sox.
Boston Red Sox. This is going to be a good one. AL East, heating up.
90-something degrees. Let's do this.
What are you wearing tonight? Go and tell the people.
Fox Pride.
Shorts.
I got it. It's an outfit. I'll be on social media later on. Check me out.
Okay.
Yes.
Social media.
Y'all,
Check
I got
out
love for you
Cece
people.
on the
I got
gram.
love for you.
While he's doing the baseball, let's start with the basketball. We
Jenna's
start with
squashing my love,
a
but I
big
got
day
love
for
for him.
LeBron James. I squashed nothing. It's the first of two big days for LeBron. Today, he's going to decide whether or not he'll opt in or out of his contract and become a free agent. Then, at some point, we'll learn where he's going to be next year. And while he's been rumored to possibly team up with Kawhi and Paul George in L.A., Stephen A. Smith reported that LeBron texted Kevin Durant about joining the Lakers. You heard that correctly. Nick, I'm going to start with you. Let's break it down. How surprised were you that LeBron reached out to KD about possibly playing next year with the Lakers?
Well, since you're starting the show with me, I will do my very best Chris Carter impersonation and say I wasn't surprised at all. And here's why. So 2 days ago, I assume around the same time Stephen A. was doing real reporting, I had heard something similar, but it was like fourth hand, and I didn't feel comfortable saying what Stephen A. did. Stephen A., by the way...
Jenna, at some point, we're at a disadvantage, too. With the news surrounding LeBron, my partner here, it's not as if he's new at this, but he's trying to be very, very careful.
I want to be very careful. And so I want to...
Multiple sources.
This is the type of thing that everyone's chasing. And I'm not a reporter, but I try to do a little reporting when necessary.
You're a reporter.
No, you got good intel.
Yeah.
But I want to be very buttoned up on this. And so yesterday what I did on TV was we were asked who's the best person to team up with LeBron, thinking the questions about Kawhi or Paul George.
And you hinted.
And I said Kevin Durant. Because I knew that this was something LeBron was at least doing his due diligence on. And I know that Cleveland.com has refuted Stephen A.'s report. I know Stephen A. is a competitor, but Stephen A. doesn't get a lot of stuff wrong. He's incredibly well-sourced, and he's hearing what I'm hearing, which is LeBron was checking with everybody. And I think it would be almost irresponsible not to. Kevin Durant's not under contract. Like he's going to be a free agent. He's going to opt out and be a free agent. He'll probably stay with Golden State.
You were a little disturbed about the fact after the finals people talked about LeBron joining Golden State.
It's a different story. That is a totally different story.
Than if KD and LeBron played in
Los Angeles or theoretically wherever. But LA is the team that could fit 2 max salaries. And if you're for LeBron, that's 2 birds, 1 stone. That's the best player you could team up with, and it kneecaps to a degree the team that is the defending champion. So am I surprised by this? No, I don't think it's going to happen. I do not think Kevin Durant's going to leave. And if Kevin Durant is to leave, I don't think Kevin Durant wants to team up with LeBron. I think Durant wants to become LeBron. But I think it would be foolish for LeBron not to at least ask and find out, wait, are you going to leave? If so, do you have any interest in coming to L.A.?
And you make a couple very good points. KD right now, his goal should be to outdo LeBron. For these conversations, for us to start a show and say, is KD the #1 player in the world? Because right now, we can't say that. He has the championships. He has the MVPs, regular season and postseason. The only thing he doesn't have is the title as the world's best basketball player. And he doesn't have the title of at what point in his career was he the best player in the NBA. And I believe that's what Kevin Durant is seeking now. He has 2. If he wins 1 more at Golden State, that would give him 3. LeBron has 3. So it's very important, for him to get that next one to be able to tie LeBron based on some of the things I've heard about KD, what he's communicated to other people.
Would this be the best move for both of them? I mean, if LeBron is reaching out, he thinks this might be the best move for him. But would it be also the best move for Kevin Durant?
It would. I mean, I think Kevin Durant's in a perfect situation where he is right now. He's already dealt with the backlash of the move. Now there's still some ripple effects, but it wouldn't be all new backlash like he would get for teaming up with LeBron in Los Angeles. They are the heavy favorites going into next season as the league is presently constituted, and almost assuredly will be after free agency unless a lot of pieces fall for the Lakers. Or would it be the best move for LeBron? Well, sure. I mean, he would get to play in L.A. He would get to play with I think Kevin Durant at this point in his career would be the best player LeBron's ever played with, no disrespect to Dwayne Wade. But Dwayne Wade wasn't the second best player in the world when LeBron joined with him. And so for all those reasons, yes, I think for LeBron it would be the best situation.
But at no point in his career did LeBron have the type of numbers that he has now. Now we have a legitimate conversation. Is LeBron the greatest basketball player ever? At no point in his career could we ever say that. Now, I know Nick was trying to, but at no point could he really back it up. But when you have 8 straight finals, when you have year 15, the way he played, playing all 82 games. So I believe that now his legacy, this is more important, because if he can take his third franchise to a championship, that would be monumental. Anything he does after year 15, with how many points, how many rebounds, all those things as far as, because at this point, what was Michael Jordan doing?
He's done.
He was done.
He's done.
So I believe it becomes very important for him, how long can he maintain the level he's at, and this next move gets him to a champion. So yes, playing with Kevin Durant, not only is Kevin Durant the second best player, but the styles match up. Kevin Durant's ability to be able to catch and shoot is the best matchup for a LeBron-type pairing.
And I don't know if C agrees with me on this, but I also believe one of the reasons LeBron reached out to Durant was, yes, to see, potentially, maybe even if it's a long shot, do you want to come to L.A., but also take his temperature if he may be leaving Golden State. Only because if Durant were to say, you know what, I've done what I need to do in Golden State, I want to go play in Washington, I want to go play at home, then the math on what type of teammates LeBron needs wherever to win a championship changes. If Golden State is weakened, then maybe LeBron's thinking, oh, Cleveland, rerun it back. How would that series have gone if in the finals they didn't have Durant? Like, any major life decision, I would argue, in any field, you want all available information. And LeBron's in a really good position where he's one of the people that everyone will take his phone call. Everyone will communicate with him. And we saw LeBron and Durant, while they're on-court rivals, they have a friendship. We saw that thing they did with Uber just won an award. They won the Bronze Lion at Cannes Film Festival. Like, those guys have a real relationship, so he may as well get that information.
So you're throwing out guys like Kawhi and Paul George and Kevin Durant. Who do you guys think would be the one guy that LeBron wants to play with more than anyone else? I mean, he's got his pick right now, whoever's available.
Well, I believe it would be KD. And the reason why is that because they're 1 and 2, and I believe LeBron probably has the best relationship of all the superstars with KD. And what him and KD could do is both of them have lost to Golden State. The triplets of Golden State, before they could come together and be able to knock Golden State off. Both of them would have motivation enough to do it. And I believe that the way they play, they could motivate each other to keep that consistent playing at that high level going.
And it would bring up something that is borderline unprecedented in NBA history, which is, what are the instances of the clear 2 best players in the league being together? You could argue there was 1 year in Los Angeles with Shaq and Kobe, but I don't think Kobe was yet the second best player in the world. Early on, when Magic got with Kareem, when Kareem was still the best, was Magic yet the second best? I don't think so.
Right.
Pippen was awesome. He was never the second best player in the world, so it would be something we'd never seen before. So I agree. I think in a perfect world, it would be Kevin Durant. But LeBron doesn't get to pick where Kevin Durant plays, and Durant's got the business in the Bay Area. They are the overwhelming favorites if nothing changes. Durant's job gets harder if he leaves Golden State. He has no incentive to do so.
But also, I think LeBron is friendly enough with KD to understand KD is not going to retire a Golden State Warrior. He probably has the intel that KD has told people. Ultimately, he wants to go back to D.C. or go some. KD's got a home in L.A. too, though. So LeBron, I believe, did the right thing in reaching out to KD, however he did it, through communications, either by text or some other way.
And we should mention Stephen A. Smith also reported that KD said, thanks, no thanks. I'm sort of content where I am right now. But again, this is all sort of unfolding as we move along into free agency. All right, coming up, who is going to end up with Kawhi? That's next. First things first. Hiring used to be hard. Multiple job sites, stacks of resumes, a confusing review process. But today, hiring can be easy, and you only have to go to one place to get it done, ZipRecruiter.com/FTF. ZipRecruiter sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. But they don't stop there. With their powerful matching technology, ZipRecruiter ZipRecruiter scans thousands of resumes to find people with the right experience and invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter is so effective that 80% of employees who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. With results like that, it's no wonder ZipRecruiter is the highest-rated hiring site in America. And right now, listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/FTF. That's ZipRecruiter.com/FTF. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Moving on to Kawhi Leonard, he has hinted in a number of different ways that he no longer wants to be a Spur. So the Spurs are hinting that they are going to shop him. And while at first they wanted to keep him out of the Western Conference, now it appears all conferences are on the table, both of them. In fact, they are reportedly fully engaged in trade talks with both the Lakers and the Boston Celtics. Sixers might also be in the mix there. CeCe, what do you think? Where do you think Kawhi will land next year?
I think they're going to be forced to trade him to the Lakers. Even though R.C. Buford and them, they came out with the statement that we're going to try to work on getting Kawhi back in our organization, or we're going to trade him to the East. The problem is Kawhi holds the leverage. You can't just trade him to the East. If you do trade him to the East, man, you are taking a tremendous chance that eventually he goes to the Lakers anyway. And that's the difference with the NBA compared to the other sports, is that the players do have leverage. And a player can request a trade somewhere. Now, they can trade him somewhere else, but it's in their best interest. Now, if he goes to someone like Boston or Philadelphia, you're worried about, is he going to sign a long-term contract? So I believe that the assets that you can fetch are better coming from the Lakers than they would be coming from a team in the East, because you can't guarantee that you'll have Kawhi.
All right, people just need to recognize the NBA it's a totally new paradigm. It is much like the NFL, but in reverse. In the NFL, players sign contracts. Those are one-way contracts. The team can cut you at any time. You sign a 5-year contract, 1 year into it, they can cut you, eat the dead money, and move on. In the NBA, requesting a trade these days means you're getting traded. Kyrie had 2 years left, requested a trade, traded. Eric Bledsoe sends out a tweet, I don't want to be here. They say, all right, stay home till we can trade you. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, one of the 4 best players in the history of their franchise, their future of the franchise, doesn't want to be there anymore. It's not a question of if they'll trade him, it's where they'll trade him.
Now, you might not be able to get to your destination.
Correct.
But you will get out of that organization.
You can't always pick where you're going via trade, but you can force your way out of a team. To answer your question, Jenna, I think it's the Lakers, because I talked to Chris Mannix yesterday, and he said the Celtics won't even trade Jaylen Brown unless they get a long-term commitment from Kawhi. Right. Forget Jason Tatum. The Sixers are hesitant to put Markelle Fultz on the table. Their package would be Dario Saric and Robert Covington. So if the Lakers do what I would encourage them to do, which is put Brandon Ingram on the table, put a pick on the table, put Kyle Kuzma on the table, well, that's going to be such a better offer than any other team thus far has brought forward.
Let's bring one other element to this. The Boston Celtics have reportedly said they would perhaps trade Kyrie Irving. Now Kyrie,
that's interesting.
That is interesting, because Kyrie himself doesn't necessarily want to play for more than just a year. So would you be up for that, for Kyrie, for Kawhi, since both of them are sort of up in the air after a year?
I never thought I'd be saying this, but I wouldn't trade straight up Kyrie Irving for Kawhi Leonard.
In which direction?
I wouldn't do it, because I believe that Kawhi is a better player. All right. I believe that also he's going to be more durable. I believe he's going to play longer. I believe he's a tougher matchup, not only offensively and defensively. I believe he's easier to run a system offensively, just when you have talented players like the Boston Celtics have. And I worry about Kyrie wanting to leave Boston. I don't know if he's committed to Boston, but San Antonio is one of the teams that he had put on his request list when he asked out of Cleveland.
And one of the reasons this trade's so interesting is both guys have a year left. Kawhi very openly, theoretically, wants to be in Los Angeles. Kyrie, more through back channels, theoretically wants to be in New York. So if you might hear, wait, so the Celtics wouldn't trade Jaylen Brown, but they would trade Kyrie Irving? Well, if they look at Kyrie's maybe only here a year.
Right.
Kawhi would only be here a year. It's a 1-for-1. The Celtics would be getting the better player. Kyrie's an excellent player, but Kawhi is a couple grades above Kyrie. So that is an interesting one for both parties.
And there really is no dominant who's who point guard in the Eastern Conference that the Celtics would have to hold on to Kyrie, because I believe in matchups, and I just believe that Rozier, with the talent that they have as far as the wing players and they would have with Kawhi, is closer to the top echelon of guards in the East than in the West. That's why I wouldn't be, if I was Danny Ainge, I don't have to hold on to Kyrie. I don't have to hold him, and I would even give him a #1 pick. Now, I wouldn't give them that top pick.
That Kings pick they have. What you're saying is you would do Kyrie plus one of the Celtics' future firsts.
Absolutely.
For Kawhi.
Yes.
That's in. Go ahead.
But if you're the Spurs, wouldn't you want to get something back that you can keep for longer than a year? That's why you say, forget it. Wouldn't you say, let's go with what we can get the most from? You can get the most from the Lakers right now. Much more so than maybe a half promise or whoever you're going to get from Boston.
Well, there's also the math on this. I agree with you that I think the Lakers can give you the best overall package.
Because they have the only team secured of Kawhi signing the long-term contract.
Right. But the other part of this is Greg Popovich is going to have it's R.C. Buford, but it's also Pop. Pop's got 2 years left. When's the last time Pop rebuilt? And they don't rebuild in San Antonio. He took over for Brian Hill in the mid-'90s. They had one terrible year when Robinson got hurt. It got them Duncan. Since then, they're 50 wins every year until last year. Does Pop want to spend his final 2 years rebuilding? Or if you trade for Kyrie, you're an instant pseudo-contender with Kyrie and LaMarcus Aldridge next year. And I always think when you trade for a guy, no matter what they say, you have a chance of keeping them. We thought Paul George was a one-year rental. Sam Presti didn't. They now have a really good chance of keeping him. You can always offer him more money and more years than any other team. They also could fall in love with the city or the teammates or the system. I think the Spurs have no chance of keeping Kawhi Leonard past this year, which is why they're going to trade him. They would have a chance with Kyrie Irving, which is intriguing.
Last little wrinkle. Are you worried about the health of either Kyrie or Kawhi? We haven't seen Kawhi but 9 games last season. No one has actually seen him play or practice at all.
I'm concerned about it. I'm less concerned if I go to the Lakers because I know I have him long term. I do believe he will be healthy. And you do have the physical examination that will validate the trade. So if he's not healthy, doesn't pass the physical, the trade's going to be voided anyway. But I got a lot of concern for Kyrie Irving. Not only his size, 4 knee injuries. How long is his body going to hold up? And I would just say, I don't know this for a fact, but I just wouldn't. I would say Kyrie Irving is not a gym warrior. So as far as his body deteriorating, I believe that's going to happen.
I can elaborate on that. There's concerns about Kyrie when he's not on the basketball court if he does the best things for his body health-wise. And so, I don't think you would love Kyrie's lifestyle.
I think I'm reading between the lines.
Outside of the gym.
I get it.
One other wrinkle I want to add to this. If Kyrie is on the table, he's not just on the table for Kawhi Leonard. That opens up as it looks like, wait, are the Lakers a great fit for LeBron? Are the Sixers? That does open back up that fake trade I brought up 2 weeks ago via Jonathan Jarks at the Ringer, which is if you would trade Kyrie for Kawhi, would you do a 3-team trade where Kyrie goes to the Knicks, where you get LeBron and the Cavs get some draft picks? If the Boston is okay trading their point guard for a small forward that's a star, would they inquire about, if we can't get Kawhi in this, can we get LeBron?
And the
if
Cavs would
Kyrie's
okay
on the table,
to get rid of LeBron for draft picks? They got
no choice.
Yeah,
they'll take anything.
Or
They'll take my cup
the
of
door.
coffee.
Right, he walks out the door.
All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, speaking of LeBron, is he really just waiting to join Kristaps with the Knicks? We're throwing it all out there today. Next on First Things First. To the NBA now, the Spurs might trade Kawhi Leonard. One player they're reportedly not interested in, Lakers' young point guard Lonzo Ball. Nick, you surprised San Antonio does not want Lonzo?
I am, because they need a point guard. I know they like DeJounte Murray, but they need a point guard. Lonzo plays an unselfish Spursian brand of basketball, even though he can't shoot. But this is an example for anybody that thought, and I was one of these people, that, man, there's a lot of crazy parents in the NBA. LeVar, it won't affect his son's future. Man, if LeVar doesn't exist, I don't think this is the case.
Well, I'm not going to blame it on his family situation. They might like Brandon Ingram better because they might only get one of those two picks. You know, as far as both of those guys being number 2 picks, the Lakers not going to give them both of them. They might like Ingram better as a basketball player compared to the other things that they might, even though they need a point guard, on a basketball standpoint alone, they just might like the player better. So I'm not surprised at all that the Spurs don't want him.
All right, moving on to the Golden State Warriors, where the rich might get richer. There is reportedly mutual interest between Golden State and 3-time Sixth Man of the Year, Jamal Crawford. Nick, would Crawford be a good addition to this Golden State team?
I don't know. I really like Jamal Crawford as the guy and as what he's been. Last year, he was a really negative player for Minnesota. Also, this is odd. He had an opportunity to sign with a contender last year, and he said, I'd rather go with young guys and try to build something. It's possible Jamal thinks this might be his last year, and so give him the best chance to get a ring.
Yeah, he's had a long career. I think that he would fit in. We saw Swaggy P.
Yeah.
Now, is he a negative? Like he might.
He's better than Swaggy P.
Okay,
Yes.
So you add him to Golden State. He is a knockdown shooter. Far more athletic, can go off the dribble too. I believe he fits into that locker room because he's known as a great guy around the NBA community.
All right, finally.
And he follows me on Twitter, so shout out, homie.
So ignore everything else I said. Just go with that last one. Finally, New York Knicks president Steve Mills says they've worked hard to repair the relationship with Kristaps Porzingis. He also said he wasn't worried about the young star potentially asking for a trade. Now, Porzingis is eligible this summer for a 5-year extension worth over $150 million. Cece, should the Knicks be worried about Kristaps leaving?
Yeah, well, you heard the first part of that. He said they thought they had repaired. So there obviously was something wrong. And also, I believe, I know this to be a fact, that there are people within Kristaps' group that don't want him in New York. And I have heard that the potential conflict as far as even his shoe deal. He's got a shoe deal with Adidas, that might be an issue as far as moving forward. So there are some things that have gone on behind the scenes, and he might not play before March, if all, of this year. So I believe that this is just the beginning of it. I believe it's very, very complicated. But I think the Knicks and their brass there, they want to keep him in New York.
Gotta want to keep him.
They want to keep him.
And go ahead.
But the people around him, all the people that have a speaking part in his career, they don't want him in New York.
Well, that's very interesting because, listen, I don't know a ton about the Latvian communities across the country, but I would wager a lot of money that there's that in New York City, there's a bigger Latvian community than any of the other 28 places you play basketball in this country. Like, that's where he's from. You would think an international superstar New York would be the best place for them. How much of this, because I know you know the people running the Knicks, is still the kind of the after effects of Phil Jackson shopping Kristaps, or have they repaired that part of it and it's new issues?
Well, those are some of the things they needed to do initially, and I think that they have worked through those things. I think Kristaps and the people around him, they trust the Knicks, but when you're not winning, all these things, people want to win. So all the things you're talking about, as far as the Latvian community here in New York, they don't hold as much weight as you would think.
You mentioned his ACL injury, and Steve Mills addressed this, that he may come back. They may sit him out the entire year. Does that factor into this at all?
Well, that factors almost actually in the Knicks' advantage to keeping him. Because if he sits out an entire year, and they would still be willing to give him 5 years, $150 million, that's more money than he can get elsewhere, and other teams might be a little more hesitant. So that could actually work in their favor. But this is, I need to do more due diligence on what exactly is going on with his health, because it's not 1989 anymore. An ACL injury is not supposed to knock you out for 15 to 18 months.
Well, the thing about it's not 15 to 18 months, but if you come back in the 9 to 12 month period that we think, they might have 40 losses by then. So why bring him back?
Shut it down.
So if the team is not real good, that's what probably prevents him from playing next season. It's not the knee injury. It's their inability to get any better. And if you're losing games, you might as well be in the lottery.
Right, if he's not healthy by the beginning of the year to help them win games. Okay, so they're not as worried that he wouldn't be able to go until the end of the season. It's that by the time he's able to go, our season might be a lost cause anyway, and just may as well keep him on the shelf?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that makes more sense.
All right, changing topics now, moving on to Tampa Bay quarterback Jameis Winston. The fourth-year quarterback has been suspended 3 games by the NFL for violating the personal conduct policy. The suspension involves an incident in which Winston allegedly groped a female Uber driver back in 2016. Winston put out the following statement. First and foremost, I would like to say I'm sorry to the Uber driver for the position I put you in. It is uncharacteristic of me, and I genuinely apologize. In the past 2.5 years, my life has been filled with experiences, opportunities, and events that have helped me grow, mature, and learn, including the fact that I have eliminated alcohol from my life. I know I have to hold myself to a higher standard on and off the field, and that I have a responsibility to my family, community, and teammates to live above the platform with which God has blessed me. So, you see, what was your reaction to this pseudo-apology, sort of admitting that he had done something here?
Well, what I think happened here, the NFL, Jameis is admitting that he was wrong. Part of the personal conduct policy or the off the field, same thing that Ezekiel Elliott went through. He was eligible to get suspended for 4 games. But in him admitting and him deciding that he wasn't going to appeal it, I believe that was the compromise by the league, which brought it down to 3 games. He wasn't going to fight it, wasn't going to make an appeal, and he would make a public apology to the person who he had this encounter with. So that's how, for people who think, well, why is it 3 games?
And you said eligible for 4. Wouldn't he have been eligible for 6? Because the personal conduct policy, that's what I thought they had said.
Yeah, that's where the complication, that's where the NFL gets a lot of heat. You know, is it going to be 6 games or is it going to be 4 games? And we have seen 6, we've seen 4, and we've also seen 2.
And we saw 1 initially with Josh Brown, the kicker with the Giants, who then got indefinitely suspended.
Yeah, so that part of it, Nick, I don't understand how they are able to get those numbers. That was just my guess. That's not talking to the NFL and everything. But I think, Jameis, the number one thing that I believe is important when you get into something as an athlete is being aware of who you are and what you are. And I believe that Jameis, at this point, in this situation, he realizes that I was in the wrong. And there's so many people that I just believe because they're not self-aware, they get themselves into trouble. So the issue as far as the alcohol, what do you feel about the alcohol and its effect on him? Well, he hadn't been drinking for over a year. And I know a lot of the situations that Jameis was involved in, people would say well, alcohol was related. But when he went into the grocery store and got the free groceries and things like that, I don't think he was drinking. So to me, alcohol doesn't always change people. Alcohol to me is like money. People say, well, if I have money, I'm going to change. Alcohol, what it does, it enhances you just like money, whatever is already inside of it.
Reveals.
So for me, I think that is a start, but I believe this is more of a character issue and also his overall respect for women. I believe there's a problem there because anytime you get yourself into the number of situations that he's gotten himself into with women, you know there's a lack of respect for the opposite sex. And I believe that that is a bigger problem than the alcohol. Is alcohol a huge deal? Yes, absolutely. And him admitting that and not being able to, not having alcohol in his life, I believe is very important.
All right, so this is, to me, not actually all that complicated. And I just want to give people the timeline of this. Jameis Winston was accused of rape when he was in college. If you read the young woman's testimony or deposition, in that she makes a very compelling case she was raped. Now, charges were never brought. He denied it. Even though false rape accusations are incredibly rare, they do obviously happen at times. So I had no choice but to say I don't know what happened there. A few years later, Jameis Winston has decided in 2016 to hang out with two people. One, Ronald Darby, his Florida State teammate. Another, Brandon Banks. That night in this Uber, Brandon Banks is there. Brandon Banks, a few months prior to that, he himself had been accused of rape. Brandon Banks, by the way, right now is in prison because of that rape. Those two guys, Darby and Banks, get out of the Uber. And now, according to his own admission, Jameis Winston then climbs into the front seat and assaults this woman. Grope sounds a little too gentle. Like, grope sounds like, did he what? You're at a club, you just pinch somebody on the butt. Not that that's okay. He is, what he was accused of and what it appears he admitted to is grabbing her by the crotch until she said, what is going on? Her only crime that day was showing up for work. She answered the app on her phone, got a fare, and this rich, famous, powerful, very large man assaults her. I don't really care about the NFL, the suspension part of it. The NFL's decided to get in this business. It gets very uncomfortable because it's 3 games. What is the proper penalty for sexually assaulting a woman? At least once. I also don't think it's unfair if you look at this and say, no. I now have more questions about what happened at Florida State. And so the NFL released a statement, said this is his last chance. Like another one of these things, okay. We are now in a position where I can't say Jameis Winston's, by the way, I was thinking about this yesterday. It was like, man, the NFL's only quarterback who's ever been accused of rape now has admitted sexual assault. And then I realized, no. One of 2 NFL quarterbacks who have been accused of some form of sexual assault, because Big Ben's still playing, has now admitted to a different one. If I'm a Tampa Bay Bucs fan, this is a hard one to swallow. If I'm a general, and the league is trying to acquire as many new fans as possible. The league, unfortunately, has become very politically polarized, trying to get as many demographics. And 53% of this country is women. And this isn't just a female issue, but I'm going to focus on that for a moment. There are tens of millions of women in this country who are sexual assault survivors. And what images, what feelings does it evoke watching him play football in the beginning of October when he'll be back? This is gross, and it's awful. And I don't mean, go ahead, Jen. I should have given you the floor.
No.
Right?
My question would be, listening to both of you, if you are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, do you want this guy on your team? Do you want this guy to represent, he's basically the CEO of your company. Do you want his face representing your product out there, which is the biggest thing Tampa Bay has right now?
Well, I mean, are we going to live in a society that everyone who commits a crime, they can't work? So now we're getting into this public image thing, that now we have greater expectations of our football players than we have of ordinary citizens. To me, it's just the same thing. I expect the same thing out of all people, regardless of what type of talent. And I want men to respect women. So it has nothing to do with being in the NFL and it's just about being a man. A woman deserves to be respected. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that in all walks of my life. Now, I don't know what happened at Florida State. All right? And the NFL, they shouldn't have to be able to judge guys based on how they get them. The NFL doesn't control college. We don't control high school. He's had one incident since he's been in the NFL. And I believe that the penalty that he's getting is very, very severe for the crime that he committed. I believe it fits it, and I believe it's very, very, because I believe it will affect him financially, too. That's not in there. It's 3 games. But this is millions and millions of dollars that he will lose over this.
I don't know what you...
I don't think we should get into that because there's a lot of players. Tyreek Hill, do we chill for him?
Yeah. No,
who you going to cheer for? You go to movies, you watch people that committed crimes, you cheer for them. Like, so what are we going to do?
No, so which is why for a long time I think the NFL's personal conduct policy, it's a tough thing because is it the entertainment industry or is it like the football industry with an arm being like the moral? I don't know. I don't know the answer about how I would feel if I was a Tampa Bay Bucs fan. I do know this part of it. People are going to go on TV today and use this as an opportunity to either bang on the NFL or bang on Roger Goodell. And that's their prerogative. That is, I would say, that is the easy way out on this. This is not a football issue. I know he's a football player. This is a societal issue. I would challenge anyone watching this today, talk to the 5 closest women in your life. According to all available statistics, probably about 2 of them have had something like this happen to them. That is about Chris, myself, every man in America recognizing we are typically bigger, we have institutionally more power, and to use that in a positive way or a negative way. And not because, I learned to respect women because I had a daughter. A woman's value is not determined by her proximity to a man. It is because we are all human. And the idea that we are going to continue to find scapegoats, like, this is a Goodell, a personal... No. This is 180 million men in this country and 3.2 billion worldwide got to decide whether or not you get to be a full citizen. And if not, then this thing's going to continue to happen and people are going to laugh it off. And that's the issue to me at large. And we're just talking about this on the TV show because it's a football player.
And that's why it's so complicated when you say, is 3 games enough for what happened? Or what is the punishment for what happened? Or whose responsibility is it to punish him for what happened? Is it the NFL's or is it society?
What is the right number of football games for sexual assault?
What is the money? What is it? There is no answer for that. All right, we're going to take a break. Much more First Things First right after this. Back here on First Things First, we're now joined by a special guest, former All-NBA guard Rod Strickland is in the house.
It's not all day you get an All-NBAer up in here.
Man, absolutely.
It's great to have you here, which is a great coincidence since we happen to have 1,000 NBA juicy topics to talk about. All right, let's start with this. 2 days ago, there were reports that LeBron James, rumored to go to the Lakers, didn't want to be the first superstar to land there this offseason, hinting that if Kawhi ended up there, he'd follow. Yesterday, Stephen A. Smith reported Kawhi is not enamored with the thought of joining LeBron in Los Angeles, not because of the basketball fit, more so because of that media circus that always seems to follow LeBron. Rod, let me ask you this. Would playing alongside LeBron James be great for everyone, or are there certain people that just couldn't handle it or wouldn't want that limelight?
Well, I guess it depends on personalities, but, I mean, if I'm a player playing with LeBron James, it's a great thing. You're going to get all the attention. Everybody's going to be watching. You're going to have a chance to win a championship. You know, with superstars and great players, I remember a coach telling me, you know, all great players have some BS to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you have to deal with that. But you have the luxury of kind of going along with the ride. So, you know, I think it's a great situation.
Listen, I tend to agree with you there, but let's, from the flip side, what are some of the theoretical negatives to playing with LeBron, either stylistically or just from all the non-basketball things that go along with it?
Well, I think stylistically, he's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to dictate the pace. So if you're like another alpha dog, you may want that ball. So I think in terms of that, he's going to dictate the pace. He's going to have the organization, you know, he's kind of going to have control of that a little bit because he's the guy. So I think that's probably the biggest part.
Now, you played with a number of players. I would say none of them are on the level of LeBron, but people that are on the superstar level as far as the NBA. But also, you played with some guys that were great players, very, very quiet. Buck Williams, a number of guys that their personalities they weren't about the limelight. Aren't there some advantages when you have a personality like Kawhi playing with someone like LeBron? Because I felt like Kawhi benefited from having Pop and Duncan in San Antonio. Kawhi said he wants to be in L.A. Why wouldn't he have another superstar to want to deflect some of those things off of him?
No, I think Kawhi Leonard, you know, with all due respect, he's a number 2 guy. I don't know if he's the guy. So I think to have someone
You're just based on personality, not skill set, but the voice coming from the franchise.
I'm going to say personality and skill set. I mean, he's a great player, but I think, you know, to win a championship, you know, LeBron James is going to get you a championship. He's going to help you win a championship. I don't know if you could say Kawhi Leonard is the guy that you're going to put in that seat and he's going to bring everybody and rise them up. to win the championship. LeBron, we know, can do that. And I know Kawhi has won, but I don't necessarily know if he was the guy.
Well, and people might say, wait, Kawhi won a Finals MVP. He did because that Spurs team, they won in 5, and they won those last 3 games in blowout fashion. So someone from the Spurs had to win that Finals MVP. And Kawhi was excellent both ways. But I think in that series, he averaged something like 17 points per game. Like that. So obviously.
They shot the NBA record from the 3-point line. They were unconscious.
Right. Danny Green, Patty Mills.
Yes.
That was it was a perfect encapsulation of the Greg Popovich era, really. They came back from the devastating stomach punch from the year before to then blow the heat off the court and send LeBron, by the way, to Cleveland. So I understand what you're saying. We haven't seen, this was the year that I thought we were going to see the evolution of Kawhi too. Give me the ball, I got it.
Right.
And so, Kawhi, listen, I think Kawhi is one of the 6 best players in the world. I think he's excellent, but I understand what you're saying as far as, is he in today's NBA the guy? Because the NBA is different now. Yeah. In the advent of super teams, like a decade ago, a guy at Kawhi's caliber absolutely can be the best player on a championship team. Can he now? I understand that concern that you have with it. And then, so go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
No, finish it.
The question that I have is, what type of player is LeBron the perfect fit for the type of player that Kawhi is, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I think LeBron is the fit for any players. You know, like, I hear people say, like, they talk about Philly and Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Ben Simmons.
Can he play with Ben Simmons because of the style? But I think LeBron James, no matter what, wherever he goes, he lifts the team. So if you put him even with a Ben Simmons and you say, well, Ben needs the ball, LeBron needs the ball, they're going to be a championship contender. So LeBron, Kawhi Leonard, I think LeBron fits with anyone.
All right, so then tell us, let's go back to what Kawhi Leonard was insinuating when when the reports are that he may not want to play with LeBron because of all the non-basketball stuff that surrounds him.
Right.
Tell us the stuff we don't know. What's it like when you get into a city? What is all the non-basketball circus, media, hoopla, what is all that like that could deter someone from wanting to play with you? Like, explain to us that we never get the stuff we don't see.
And I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of confused with that a little bit. Because, I mean, I understand LeBron is LeBron, and, you know, you go to the city, he's probably going to get a lot of attention. But, I mean, as a player, if I'm going to a team and I'm trying to win a championship, all I'm thinking about is between those lines. And so, you know, what happens off the court, the attention, the media, whatever comes with that, I mean, as an athlete, I just think I want to win a championship. LeBron is helping me win a championship.
Yeah, I think Kawhi, this is his personality, though. Kawhi is never going to be about the media. So that report, I'm not going to talk about who it came from, but I believe there's some truth in it. But a lot of this has to do with Kawhi's personality. He's never going to be a guy that wants the limelight, even though he's in Los Angeles. So when you say, hey, how is it to play with, like, LeBron James? It's just like no different than Kareem playing with Magic. Kareem never wanted the attention and everything. He dealt with it.
Go play.
And people would say, wow, Kareem didn't thrive under it. Kareem did what he had to do. And I believe that's what Kawhi will do. Because Magic held all the interviews, did everything, said all the things to the team. That's what LeBron's going to do. We just need Kawhi to perform. And I believe there's a certain amount of protection when you have a guy.
That's why you would think he would want to play with him.
That's what I would think.
Imagine Kawhi playing with Paul George. Now, who's going to protect him then?
Right.
See, that's not a perfect fit. LeBron is a perfect fit, like you said. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, PJ, or Kawhi.
Well, and there's certain guys, though, that want the discussion to surround them. I think Kyrie was one of those guys.
Right.
Like, listen, you know Kyrie a lot better than me.
Right.
He's your nephew, right? And so Kyrie was a guy who I think wanted the ball in his hands and wanted to see, can I be the best guy on a champion? And as long as, like, why do you think the fit with Kyrie and LeBron was to a place where Kyrie wanted to venture out on his own?
Well, just what you said, that's a different animal. It's like Kobe. You know, Kyrie is kind of in that Kobe mindset. Like, you know, Kyrie feels he can lead a team and he can do it on his own. Kawhi, just listening to those comments, I mean, it's about something other than basketball. So he doesn't have the same mojo. And so I think that's, you know, that's where I had a lot. Kyrie's
and you have no problem with that because you believe that's his real personality.
Right.
Just like Kyrie is like Kobe, and people don't think about it that way. Kobe got a lot of heat because they eventually ran Shaq off, but that was Kobe's personality.
Right. Kobe felt he can do it. Let me have this show. I'll bring the players I want to have in there. And I think Kyrie is just a different different mindset, different animal. He wants to be the engine that makes everything go.
And I said nephew. It's godson, right?
Godson,
My
yes,
apologies.
yes.
Just quickly, if you just had to guess, where do you say Kawhi is playing basketball next season?
I would say LA. Why not? And I know it seems like he doesn't like the attention, but we're in the NBA. You're going to get attention. But I think LA would be a great spot for him.
All right, we'll see. Rod, stick around. Coming up, could LeBron James and Kevin Durant team up in LA? LeBron reportedly wants to. That's next on First Things First. Back here in First Things First with Rod Strickland. If you are a fan of dramatic soap operas, I present to you the NBA offseason. Today, LeBron James will decide whether he'll opt out of his contract and become a free agent. And while rumors are he wants to team up with Kawhi and Paul George in L.A., Stephen A. Smith is reporting that LeBron texted Kevin Durant about joining the Lakers. KD and the King has a certain ring to it. Maybe it doesn't. Rod, what do you think? Would this be the best move for both LeBron and Durant?
No, I don't think so.
Would it be the best move for either of them?
I think it's a great move if they can come together, obviously, to see LeBron and KD. But I think now KD's the champion. You know, why would you go from, you know, what you created or what you have in Golden State? You've won 2 championships in a row. Everybody's chasing you now. Why go to the guy who lost and help him win the championship? And you've created all these bonds with your teammates, you know, on the court and off the court. And you have a chance to win 3 in a row. You know, that's history. So if I'm KD, I'm staying in Golden State, and I'm going to keep beating LeBron because I want to catch him. I want to try to be better than LeBron.
Now, I'm just sitting here. I'm going on a limb. I'm just sitting here reading your body language, Rod, and it seems like you have maybe some type of issue with the modern-day NBA player, with the things that we talk about, the things that might be distractions. Are these guys totally different than the way we grew up playing basketball? And is that the look that I'm getting from your eye?
No, I don't have a problem, but it is what it is. I mean, it's a different ball game.
They are very different.
It's a different game. Mm-hmm. I mean, back in the day, obviously you wouldn't move and try to play with the other best player. You're probably going to try to create your own space and
beat that other best player.
And beat that other player. But it's different, so I respect that. But I'm just saying, just as a competitor, if I'm Kevin Durant and I'm the champion, then I want to sit on that throne and I want everybody to catch me.
And I would put a lot of the blame for the modern-day NBA player, the modern-day NBA situation, whatever it is, on people that do this for a living. We, over the last 10, 15 years, have made this decision that if you don't have a ring, you suck. And so LeBron was the best player in the world by year 3 or 4 in Cleveland. But his best teammate his last year there was Antoine Jameson. They couldn't get past a 3 Hall of Famer team in Boston. LeBron, you must, fine. I'll go to Miami. I'm going to go get a ring.
If a player is great, the number one way to disqualify his greatness was to say he didn't win a championship.
Right, and then so LeBron goes to Miami. Like, I'm going to, you know what? You guys are saying I'm a loser because I can't win. Fine. D-Wade, Bosh, let's go win. Kevin Durant. Man, Kevin Durant's been the second best player in this league for 7 years. And they were so close in Oklahoma City. Russ got hurt one year. Ibaka got hurt. Durant got hurt. They blow the 3-1 lead to Golden State. People are slinging arrows. Fine. I'm going to remove that arrow from you. And now, by the way, coming for James Harden. You win an MVP. Oh, what's that get you? We did it to Chris Paul. Chris Paul moved to Houston. The media has made it to where if you don't have a title, you suck. And so these guys, they say, okay, then I'm going to go chase it.
And the situation with LeBron and KD were very similar because both of them tried to get other players to come to their city. KD didn't want to leave OKC, but no one else would come there. So he had to leave. LeBron, man, he tried to get everyone to come to Cleveland. So I can understand also the scrutiny. We have a lot of television shows. The NBA, this is as popular as it's been in 20 years. I believe that adds to some of the information that's presented on a daily, weekly basis.
Oh, no doubt. And LeBron is chasing a ghost because he's chasing number 23. He's chasing Jordan. So he's trying to, before he leaves this league, he wants to establish himself as the best. And so I think he's chasing those rings and he's trying to find situations. And like you said, in the past, you know, it's like Charles Barkley. Even though he did it too, though. He tried to go to Houston. It just didn't work.
He tried to.
He tried. And Charles, by the way, Charles acts like that didn't happen. But I'll take a guy who went to Houston and got a ring. You played with Clyde, right?
Yes.
You were with Clyde. I mean, you were in Portland. I think a couple years you averaged 20-plus a game in the playoffs.
Yes.
Listen, man, the media was different back then. Clyde's legacy did not change much with the ring he won in Houston. Now, it's nice for him. He gets to be a champion. He now does the broadcast down in Houston. But Clyde Drexler was the second best shooting guard in the world to Michael Jordan for a period of time. He was an all-NBA caliber player. Couldn't get over the hump in Portland, ends up going to Houston. But it didn't drastically change how we evaluate him. Now it's everything. Now everyone is terrified of being Barkley, as if Barkley don't have one of the best post-career lives of anybody. Like, it's a different thing we've done with how we evaluate these guys.
And Clyde was different. It was more natural. You know, he got traded. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was chasing. He was a free agent. He got traded. And as far as Barkley, one of the greatest of all time. And you see Shaq, he teases him all the time about that ring. So, you know, these guys are trying to get in position to win as many rings as they can to seal their legacy.
Which is why would KD want to leave what he's got right now after going through everything he did, all the crap that he took, moving to Golden State, now finally solidifying himself there, playing alongside Steph and playing well, getting the like all of it.
Right.
What incentive would he have to leave to go play with a guy who's trying to go do that?
That's what I say. That's what I don't, you know, the reports to me, you have to stay in Golden State and you have to try to win 3, 4, 5 championships. And that's how you can create your separation from everyone else.
Right.
So to go with LeBron, I don't know. I think it kind of takes away from, you know, what you've accomplished.
Because we're going to keep track of the numbers. Right now, KD's got 2. And the second one justified the move. The first one didn't justify it, but the second one did. LeBron's got 3. Dwayne Wade's got 3. So when you look at these players over the last 15 to 20 years, KD's going to be able to say, I won an MVP. I won a couple finals MVPs. I won several rings when LeBron won several. That's what people in the NFL can't say about Brady. Brady's got 5 of them. Peyton Manning, he only got 2.
Right. Rodgers got 1. Breeze got 1. Like, that separation's so enormous. On the flip side of this, while you might not understand why Durant would even entertain, it doesn't look like he is. Right. You do understand why LeBron would say, hey, like, listen, if you were going to go somewhere, we can come together. We saw them play in the All-Star game together. It's the only time we've seen them play on television together. If it did happen, it's highly unlikely, if not impossible, would that – I was trying to think about this earlier. Have we ever had the 2 best players in the league on the team together? Because I don't think Kobe was the second best player yet when he was with Shaq, right? And when Magic wasn't the best or second best while Kareem was still the best. Like, we've had 1 in 5 or 1 in 6. Like, the best Pippen ever was like the 6th, 7th best player in the league. Yes. So this would be the first time, this would be the best 1-2 punch we've ever seen. And you could argue the best 1-2 punch right now that we've ever seen is 2 and 3. With KD and Steph, what they have in Golden State. You know what I mean? Like, and so it would be, you get why LeBron would want to do it.
I mean, why not? I mean, you're giving LeBron all the advantage, though, if you do that. To me, if I'm KD, I want to, because if I'm KD in my mind as a competitor, I want to be greater than LeBron, no matter what everyone else is saying. So
that's his only competition.
Right. So let me leave LeBron over there, let him figure it out, and I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to create this dynasty or whatever. Let's win 4 or 5 championships, and now you can say, because, you know, I went from OKC because I wanted to win. So now I'm here. Now I seal myself in Golden State for years to come with a lot of championships. I just think it looks better.